So John Gray, I mean, the legend of John Gray. You've been in this industry for over 40 years in helping people, teaching people. Everybody knows if they have to know their book, Men Are From Mars or Women Are From Venus. They've had to heard that, read the book, or they've been under a rock, or they were just born today. You're just a complete legend, marriage counselor. You have tons of other books, and you just made such a positive impact in the world when you were in The Secret. So thank you for being here.
Well, I'm already feeling better. Thank you. It's nice to be seen, and I see you.
Thank you. So how do you define having it all? What is your it and what is your all?
Oh, I love talking about having it all. Because having it all for me is having a lot less of what I thought was all. And, I'm a guy, and very ambitious, and, to have best-selling books and to make lots of money and to have a big house. And that's all nice. That's all very nice. And this is to me what having it all was. And then this is not everybody's experience, but it was mine, is that I was really missing something very, very important. And that was simply a simple life. And, my work was consuming me. I mean, and I loved it. I loved my work, but I was doing it all the time. And my wife, in a sense, was the thermometer or the barometer, letting me know that, you're having a good time, but we miss you, and we're a big part of your life. And it's like when you're having a good time passes really fast. It's like a blur. And I was missing out on the other side of life, which is, I think, having it all is feeling financially secure and ideally being debt-free and being able to sustain a comfortable life. Okay, that's really, to me, having it all is to be debt-free and have a comfortable life and enough resources so your children have education, you get to have food, and which is a higher standard of living than most people have. Because the way I look at it is, to even eat a healthy diet, people who work on minimum wage, for example, or even twice minimum wage, it's very hard for them to even live a healthy diet. The whole world is so out of balance that, it's junk food that's cheaper. The food that's bad for you, that makes you sick, is actually much cheaper than the good stuff. And ironically, it's our government subsidizes the cheap stuff. So the people that make the junk food that's bad for us get more money from the government so they can keep their prices low. So the people out there doing the organic foods, they don't get the subsidies, so their food is much more expensive. But we really need to change all that. But anyway, having it all is a world as well, which is more fair and equal and just. But at least what I can control is in my own life having enough success on a monetary level and a security. And on the other level, which is just as important, is quality personal relationships. Happiness is so key. Health is so key. Happiness and health and love. So there's things I do that make me very happy. There's people in my life where I feel love. I love my wife. I miss my wife, one of my ways. It's a sweet feeling. I just saw the movie The Theory of Everything, and it was so sweet. It was like a love story. And with my wife, I'm like an 18-year-old boy reaching over and holding her hand. I love you too, sweetie. It was so sweet to have that quality relationship with my children who love me, come to me for advice, who, we interact with, some work for me. A family is such a big part of having it all, and to be happy in that family, to have good skills, to sustain good relationships. I think this is like having it all is friends. I got good friends and positive working relationships. I'm friends with all the people I work with. So it's love on one side, love and happiness and health, and on the other side, work that you can do that you feel confident about, and monetary success and being out of debt. These are the things that I think is having it all.
Beautiful.
And then, of course, then becomes the challenge to sustain it all. So it doesn't just have it and it stays.
Right. Exactly.
It's an ongoing process.
Absolutely. So what would you say is your core belief, either about yourself or the universe, that allows you to have the experience of having it all?
Okay, well, core beliefs, I have several core beliefs, but one of if I just go to the sort of a driving force I think that's helped me in my life is the influence of my mother. My mother was a very peaceful, loving woman, and she radiated this message, and she articulated this message to me, which is that it's a spiritual message. You always have what you need in life. And if it seems like you don't, it's because you're looking in the wrong direction. So you have to make a change, and you will find that the support you need, what you need, is available to you. And that's a major part of having it all. I mean, having it all is I have everything I need.
Yes.
So when you're looking at something that is missing in your life, instead of, making yourself wrong or making somebody else wrong, which typically happens, is to go, okay, let me look elsewhere without forsaking that person or that situation or blaming that situation, and see where I can get that. So let me give you an example of that. There was a resentment that I felt in the early years of my marriage with Bonnie. We've been married 30 years. And here I am, I'm this public speaker, and sometimes I'll get standing ovations and people want me to sign their books and they think I'm wonderful. So that's kind of like makes you feel like, wow, I'm quite wonderful.
Yes.
And then I would be at home discussing some of my new ideas, because all the ideas of Men Are From Mars, these are all things that I would sort of come up with. They weren't written in books before. And I would run these ideas out, and usually she'd be the first person I might share some with, and she would always argue with them. She was like, no, that's ridiculous. Oh, that's not true. Oh, you're just making and then that day I would be sharing my ideas with my counseling clients who are paying me money to hear me speak. And they think, wow, what a great idea. So I would be like, how is it that these people over here that aren't my wife and family, they think I'm wonderful, and how is it my wife doesn't? And so there was a resentment. And then I realized, well, wait a second. I have a need for people to like my ideas. I have a need for people to unconditionally just go, John must have a good idea. I have that need met. It was with my clientele. It was with the people in my workshops. And I don't need that from my wife. I don't need everything from my wife. And that's not why I fell in love with my wife. She's not like a client of mine in therapy that thought I had good ideas. She thinks I'm a great guy, and she's in love with me. And what a wonderful, fun guy I am to be with, an intelligent guy and smart guy. And so I realized that I don't have to get everything from her, from every source. If you try to put all your eggs in one basket, you'll always be disappointed, because we're supposed to look and have a full life, get our different needs met in different places. And I did write a whole book on this, which is talking about the core belief of we always have what we need, but we're always looking in the wrong direction. And that's called How to Get What You Want and Want What You Need. Okay, so what you have, want what you have. And that was the title. And I talk about different basic primary needs that we have as human beings. And one is a need for a higher power. And if we don't, or at least a higher potential. And if we're not actively engaging and fulfilling that need, either through self-help, through religion, through spirituality, through a relationship with a guru or a therapist, whatever it might be, if we're not looking or even learning how to shoot an arrow to higher power, somebody that knows more than me, that inspires me, that's a need, and we all have it. And if you don't fulfill that need within yourself, then in your marriage, you'll expect your partner to be perfect. Mm-hmm. You'll expect them to be the higher power. Well, you shouldn't be that way. And we'll be all upset that they're not perfect. Or we get upset with ourselves that we're not perfect. So you see that there's a place to get a certain need met. And if we look in the wrong direction, it doesn't register with gratitude and appreciation, and it doesn't enrich our lives. Because these are like, we need food, we need vitamins, whatever. If you're missing one, something goes wrong. So we need that as a need. Another need we have is someone we trust who's not perfect. And that would be like it's the first stage of life. The womb is the experience where God is there. The universe is there taking care of us. We don't have to do anything. Then as little children, we are dependent on caretakers. And to the extent that we're able to get what we need as a child, that someone was able to be there for us, we learn to trust. And that's a very important need. And when people don't have that as a young child, then the rest of their life, that is a primary need that they will have. These are the people that really get a lot out of therapy or get a lot out of having a teacher, because they didn't get that experience where they could trust the universe, because you couldn't. I mean, your parents just couldn't. They weren't there. It wasn't their fault, or what, they just couldn't do it. So this means that as a soul, you came into this world, and that becomes a bigger need that you have, and you have to be responsible to fulfill that need. And if you look again to your personal relationship, like marriage, or to your children, whatever, let's say to your marriage, and you haven't found someone else in your life that you trust, then you demand your partner to be perfect. So when your partner's late, for example, you might react by, oh, I can never trust them. They're always this way. And this is a childlike part of our brain, and we don't want to project that and look for, a parent figure in our partner.
Right.
We need to have, to a certain extent, parent figures. These can be teachers. These could be people you trust and depend on. Then there's another need we have, which is joy. We need to have fun. And to have fun, we need safety. That's what games are. Some people, their whole lives, they're very serious. And that's because around the age of 7 to puberty, it wasn't safe for them. It was just scary. And there wasn't enough organization and structure for them to sort of unfold and have fun and play. So a lot of people, their whole lives, they're not happy. And then they're not happy in their marriage, or they're not happy in their work, or they're not happy in their relationship with God. Whatever it is, they're not happy because they haven't learned how to play, how to have fun, how to do things that have no purpose other than just have fun. And that would be like a game. And that's where you learn that, win-win. You're happy when somebody else wins. You're happy when you win. There's a sense of safety. There's a sense of structure and order. And if we don't have that at that age, then suddenly that becomes a bigger need in our lives. And once again, we have to find and create situations for play to enjoy ourselves. So, that's kind of an example throughout life. As the soul is becoming more complicated, more mature, more and more needs are there. Absolutely. And we have to become experts at meeting those needs. And it's kind of like that Chinese performance where they spin the plates. They start with one plate. That's the first need. And now spin this one, but then you got to go back and spin that one again. And then you got a third plate. Then you got to spin this one. And then a fourth plate, which is that, after puberty, then we want to have, we're starting to develop our self-awareness, which is what can I do? What am I good at? And that's learning new things to develop our skills. What I tell people to stay young is keep learning new things. There has to be something you're learning. Every week I'm learning something new. I'm in such a wonderful position in life because I'm a teacher, so I can always teach what I just learned. So it's even part of my work and profession to learn new things. But a lot of people, they just as soon as they stop learning, they start dying. Mm-hmm. It's like they stop growing. Learning is such an important thing, and developing and testing out. It's like the more we know, the older we get in terms of our behavior. Because we think we know it all, instead of realizing the more we know what we don't know. That's the real attitude. I know many people up in their 70s, and I don't know anything. Because once you know how big everything is, oh my gosh, there's so much more. Yeah. So again, these are different needs that we have. And then the need for autonomy. This is in the 20s. We have to learn how to be completely self-sufficient in terms of where does my happiness come from? There's an inner source of happiness, and this really becomes the foundation of the secret, which is to manifest. You first have to find fulfillment inside so that your happiness is not dependent on that thing which is coming. Because then you're unhappy, and then you're constantly going to draw to your things that make you more unhappy. Right. So you have to find this happiness inside, be able to come back to that place. Whenever life is not fulfilling you, you come back in here, you find your authentic desire, and then the universe matches that up, and slowly but surely what you're wanting manifests into your life.
Beautiful, beautiful. So when you're in that place, I like to call it having it all moment. When you're just in that moment, right? What would you say is the dominant feeling, vibration that you exude out into the universe?
Gratitude. That's the gratitude is always the, oh gosh, I feel so lucky. I feel so grateful, and love and happy. Those are those feelings of gratitude, love, and happy. Yeah.
And so what would be your piece of advice to get people into that space of gratitude, for example?
Well, the first step is when I just had a little distraction there for a moment. My wife was calling to me. So
Hi, Bonnie.
We asked, how do you get into that place of gratitude? Okay, one simple way is take risks. There's so many things we do to stay in our comfort zone. And so we think, oh, I just like to be this way, or I don't like that. But really, we're afraid of taking that step. So become aware of what your fears are, which hold you back. Realize, here's an example of that. I used to think I didn't like to socialize much. And somebody said, why? Well, because I don't like to. I said, well, why don't you like to? Then I had to look a little deeper. And I realized I was afraid of not knowing what to say. I'm afraid people wouldn't like me. I was afraid Somebody would think less of me. They already think more of me. Now they're going to think less of me. So I would lose. So you become aware of your fears and actually feel the fears that hold you back. Once you can feel the fears, now you're feeling. We're talking about how to feel gratitude. So once you feel your fears, then you ask yourself, what am I telling myself right now? So if I'm afraid people won't like me, then I'm telling myself, it's a subconscious message that I have to identify consciously. I'm telling myself right now, there's like a little voice telling me, nobody's going to like you. You're not going to know what to say. Don't you remember that time you stood up and you said that everybody laughed at you? Do you want them to laugh at you again? So you have to become aware of sort of the subconscious dialogues that are going on inside and identify what you're saying to yourself. So what is your fear? What are you telling yourself to be afraid? It's like there's this a grown-up telling this child why you should be afraid. And once you feel those feelings, then simply write out what you're grateful for. It just, you have to connect to the part of you which is afraid. Because see, whenever you're afraid, you're focusing on what you don't have. It's always fears about I don't have help. I don't have positive feelings. I don't have enough intelligence. I don't have enough skills. Whatever it is, what I don't have. True. So getting in touch with what you don't have, now write out what you feel grateful for and just start saying, I feel grateful. Well, what do I feel? Well, I feel grateful my hands can move. I feel grateful that I can see. I feel grateful that I'm alive. I feel grateful I have this opportunity. I feel grateful that I don't have to be perfect and I can be loved. You know, start developing all these ideas that you can be grateful for. And that anxiety just goes away. Oh my gosh. But just saying I'm grateful sometimes doesn't have any sort of feeling because we're numb to our feelings. You have to find out, well, why aren't you feeling? And usually it's fear. And usually we can't feel our fear simply because we're not stepping out of our comfort zone. See, a lot of people are just very peaceful in their life. They have no fear. And if you really get in touch with what they wish and what they want, and often they won't even go there because they go, well, that's not possible. That's not possible. But get in touch with it. If you could, what would you want? And now get behind it. Feel the part of your soul that wants more, wants to do more, have more, be more. I want. And as soon as you feel what you want, now take action. Now commit yourself to it. And boom, then now you'll feel your fears. And then once you feel your fears, you're feeling again, you can identify the false beliefs that are causing that fear. And then you just simply go into saying, now I'm going to practice acknowledging gratitude. And that's kind of like Oprah's a wonderful example of that, a woman who's manifested many of her dreams by taking risks. You see, she's taken those risks. She feels those fears. You see, you got to get in front of the whole world. Whatever she says, she's afraid. What am I going to say? Who's going to sue me next? What's going to happen now? How am I going to do the right, wrong thing? When you're running first on a track, you're always looking behind you. Who's going to catch up? Who's going to go? There's a lot of fear. Right. And so for her, the technique is she has her gratitude journal. Every day she writes in her gratitude journal just to keep her centered. But the reason it works so powerfully for her is she's also in touch with her fears.
Beautiful.
And she's also taking action and not letting fear hold her back.
Beautiful. John, you are so amazing, and I've just enjoyed this time together. This for me was a having it all moment. So thank you so much. It's really an honor to have so many amazing teachers on this planet today come together and create, just literally create this quantum field. So I just appreciate you being part of it.
Well, I want to just acknowledge you for a moment, and I'm going to take away from our conversation what are those having it all moments. And I'm going to commit myself this week to having it all at least several times a day, pausing and appreciating and feeling grateful for having it all. Even though my life's not perfect and there's always more and more and what's not, but I was just thinking yesterday doing the tree trimming with my grandchildren, and I was sitting back and just going, gosh, is this beautiful or not? Just having it all, to be healthy, to have my children here. And there's lots of, challenges here and there going around, but just to focus on what I do have and realize for right now, I'm having it all. And thank you. Thank you for that.
You are so welcome. Absolutely. Take care.